I am Noriko Boulevard, and this is Uncut News. We begin tonight's newscast with an update from the National Recount. It would seem that the police have now joined in on the drama. On Tuesday evening, the Commissioner of Police, Leslie James, defended the list he provided to the Guyana Elections Commission regarding 172 Guyanese who were reportedly overseas on March 2nd. In fact, local media outlets Kaichor News and Newsroom refuted the information that James, as Chief Immigration Officer, provided to the Elections Commission. Commissioner James provided the list after the APNU AFC produced 207 names of supposedly migrant Guyanese. In a press statement issued last evening, the police commissioner confirmed that 172 persons on the list were in fact overseas on Elections Day, and the immigration data was, quote, generated through its record system, which includes an electronic border management system, end quote. Interestingly enough, the statement noted that the system, quote, does not record persons who traveled illegally, end quote. However, multiple media entities, as well as some of the persons in question, came forward to further refute the Immigration Department's claims. Nevertheless, some supporters of the APNU AFC have asserted that the police force's response could indicate that persons could have illegally re-entered Guyana in order to vote. However, each of the persons who have come forward continue to deny the claims. Next is crime. Murder-accused Marcus Bisram was freed Tuesday morning after the High Court ruled that the Director of Public Prosecution's order to reopen the case against him was illegal. Bisram was originally freed March 30th, 2020 at the Wims Magistrates Court after it was determined that the state did not have sufficient evidence against him. However, he was rearrested the same day after the DPP ordered the magistrate to reopen the case. Following this, Bisram's lawyer, Sanjeev Tatadin, successfully challenged the DPP's order in the High Court. Tatadin also told the newsroom that his client is innocent and will be filing a lawsuit against the state and the DPP.
So BISRAM also intends to bring proceedings against the state and the DPP.
On what grounds?
That they have charged him, made him suffer, had him locked up for several years, when they had no evidence that he had done anything.
Bisram originally faced charges which alleged that between October 31st and November 1st, 2016, he coerced, procured, and demanded 5 men to murder carpenter Faiz Narindat. Yes, Bisram is the guy that had the man in Berbice murdered after he allegedly made a pass at him and got denied. Before we continue, I thought you should know that today's newscast is sponsored by Triple B's Enterprise. They sell GPS tracking, electronics, and big people toys, if you know what I mean. Plus, they are doing delivery in Berbice and Linden for cheap, and Georgetown for free. Call them on telephone number 682-8326 or message them on Facebook at Triple B's Enterprise. And in education, it seems that the Ministry of Education and the Guyana Teachers Union are at odds again, this time over exam dates. This morning, the GTU declared that it is in complete opposition to the Ministry of Education's proposed date for the National Grade 6 Assessment and the CXC examinations for this year.
Protocols that they put forward were decent, but we remain concerned that Guyana still having cases reported. Teachers would have to engage these children for another 2 to 3 weeks. So bring them back in line with a school arrangement, since they've been out of school for more than 2 months. And that is a concern at the level of preparation, bearing in mind that while some children might have gotten a chance to engage in an online platform, not all students had that privilege. And as such, we can't say that there has been equity along the line where students were engaged. It will have an impact on children realizing their true potential, because here you are asking children who are relaxed for almost 2.5 months or close to 3 months, doing nothing at home. Basically, some of them were not doing anything, some of them were doing little, to come into the exam setting and perform to their true potential, and that would not be something that would be easily realized.
After receiving the official timetable from the Caribbean Examinations Council for the administration of this year's exams, the Ministry of Education announced that the National Grade 6 Assessment will be held on the 1st and 2nd of July 2020, while the CSEC and CAPE examinations will be held on the 13th of July 2020 to 4th of August 2020 and 13th of July to 31st of July, respectively. The union, in a press statement, said that they met with the Ministry of Education on May 29th when a plan was shared as it relates to the proposals for these examinations. They reportedly objected to the proposed dates since said meeting. As such, the GTU will meet on Friday, June 5th to discuss the matter further. And in other news, a 90-year-old homeless pensioner, John Danraj, also known as Uncle John, now is forced to beg for assistance after waiting over 3 months for a replacement of his old age pension book, which was stolen in March. According to iNews, the elderly man has taken up residency in a bus shed at Anna Regina, Pomeroon, Supernam, Region 2. However, it was there where he was robbed of a bag containing his old age pension book, his ID card, and some other documents. Following the robbery, Danraj made a report to the police and the local office of the Ministry of Social Protection at Anna Regina. However, he was told that the Georgetown office is handling the matter. Nevertheless, he is unable to collect his pension without his pension book. As such, he is pleading for the help of the relevant authorities. And in business news, President David Granger is urging that the International Decade for People of African Descent Assembly, Guyana, to embark on a new model of credit union to encourage economic empowerment. He noted that at the end of 2019, there were about 30 credit unions in Guyana with 24,000 members with an asset of just over US $28.9 million. However, he posited that more needs to be done by the credit unions and proposed that the IDPADA's credit union leads the way, saying, quote, "I think it is important that we should not allow the credit union to stagnate at the level of the individual borrower. It needs to move to the industrial stage, which will involve the establishment of factories, and the fourth stage, which will involve shipping of commodities overseas. Financing is needed at the level of micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises, particularly in the agro-processing sector," end quote. The president also suggested that the credit union cater for 4 stages of economic enterprise, that is, subsistence, which caters for personal loans; commercial, that is a financing enterprise that could embark on marketing; industrial, that caters for the wider market; and international, for competitive marketing and sales. Director General of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, retired Lieutenant Colonel Egbert Field, said Guyana's international airport will likely fully reopen in late 2020 or early 2021. Mr. Field said, quote, "We are looking at finally opening the airports, if not later in this year, maybe next year. One of the main things is gaining the confidence of the flying public with what we put in place," end quote. The airports will be reopened in 4 phases. The first phase involves establishing new standard operating procedures and repatriating Guyanese, which will begin in the coming days. The second will involve inviting international agencies to return. The third phase will allow tourist travel, and final stage will be a return to full working capacity depending on the global situation at the time. Meanwhile, measures will also have to be put in place on how airlines should operate during the pandemic. The GECA is currently working on such measures. Many international experts have come out to warn of the possibility of sanctions against Guyana if the next government is sworn in under non-credible results. Most recently is the Guyanese-born academic and Antigua and Barbados ambassador to the United States, Sir Ronald Sanders. He asserts that such a situation can have far-reaching and damaging effects to the nation's development. Speaking on Kaitro Radio on Monday evening, Sanders said, quote, "And it will start with sanctions against state-owned enterprise, and that will mean sanctions against any enterprise in Guyana that happens to own oil. The money that would have come to the state enterprise will get frozen and the Guyana government will not be able to touch it. Now, I am not making this up. You can look at the history of several other countries, including neighboring Venezuela, to see what has happened to their assets as sanctions have escalated against them. But ultimately, you are a pariah state. Let it blow, blow, blow. And now we take a look at news from the region. A 32-year-old woman from St. Andrew, Jamaica, is now facing a murder charge after allegedly dousing a taxi operator with hot oil during a domestic dispute. The police are yet to finalize a date for the first court appearance of the accused, Melissa Sinclair of East King's House Road. According to police, on May 14th, Sinclair and 38-year-old Orville Pitter, also of East King's House Road, had a dispute at around 11:30 in the morning. During the dispute, Sinclair poured hot oil on Pitter, causing severe burns. He was taken to the hospital where he later died of his injuries on May 25th. Sadly enough, I hope there's a lesson to be learned in this. Never fight with your woman when a pot is on the stove. Hey Guyana Uncut viewers, thanks for checking out Uncut News. Subscribe by clicking on this button down here or click over here to watch more news. Goodbye for now.